the first thing I'd ask, Piers, is can any of your panelists name one thing I wrote about McMahon, the WWF, exposing a pedophile ring on McMahon's watch? Somebody who was it? Just like Russo. I got 2 kids. How about the kids who were sexually abused who didn't have parents, and they were all in McMahon's purview. They were
Phil, we just said a lot of what you. I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to stop you right there. A lot of what you said is true.
Stop me.
Nobody said that.
Did I stop you? Surprise,
you brought up my kids.
You're a sellout. You're a sellout. You have no moral fiber.
A sellout. See, and Piers, this is what I'm talking about. I've never met this man. I've never met this man, and he's saying I have no moral fiber. He doesn't know me.
He wanted proof. Coach, he wanted proof. I just supplied the proof.
How come?
I called you out. I called you out 30 years ago when you made it up. You made stuff up, Phil, 30 years ago,
keep
bro.
Shouting, because you're a fraud.
You're going to sit there and say we haven't spoken because maybe you're senile, bro.
Well, no,
maybe
we talked a lot.
Maybe you just got out of the chair, bro. You reported on stuff that was never said.
Don't call me bro.
I'll call you whatever. I'll call you a liar then. How about that, bro? I'll call you a liar. You reported on stuff that was never said. I recorded.
You have no credibility.
You went in the New York Post. You used to be a gay. You was never said. Yeah, what? What, bro? I was what? I used to be what? What did I used to be, bro?
Are you going to let me speak?
Go ahead. Tell me what I used to be.
You let me speak?
Go ahead. What I used to be.
Did you once?
Let Phil
newsletter about pro wrestling? Did you run once? And weren't you very, very anti-McMahon, right? I got the copies that don't lie.
Yes, show us the copies right now, Phil. Show us the copies right now. Anti-McMahon, my butt, bro. I was fair. I was a fair. That's why I went to the symposium to hear his side of the story, because guys like you were burying him. So I was, there's got to be another side to the story. That's why I went and you didn't go, because you didn't want to hear the other side of the story, because you had to sell newspapers, bro. You're the fraud. And you embarrassed me to call myself a journalist.
Okay, let me jump in as a good referee. Good referee would.
I just Piers.
Phil.
I woke up one morning and I was covering mainstream sports, and I decided to fabricate all these fantasies about the WWF. I didn't even watch it. I thought I could see where it was going. The steroids and the prurient content. I could see it was getting really ugly and really vicious and just sexually inappropriate for anybody. And I just decided I'll make some stuff up. Or did I get calls from ring boys? Piers, can you give me a second? I'll tell you how my inclusion began. I read in the New York Times 2 paragraphs. Hulk Hogan was going to be dismissed from the Dr. Zahorian drug trial, Vince's the wrestling doctor, because it might be injurious to his public image and career. And I'm saying, what kind of... But his career is built on take your vitamins, say your prayers, and suddenly he's exploding on drugs. You can see it. It was obvious, except maybe to Russo, that he was on steroids.
Let me ask you, Phil. Phil.
And then the letters came. They had never read anything like that in the mainstream media, and they all read, "You don't know the half of it." So I didn't decide to throw away my
No, Phil. If you want my opinion, I think you're an excellent reporter who's been doing excellent reporting. I guess the question is, as the panelists said before they knew you were coming on, whether you had a vendetta against Vince McMahon. He called you once on Monday Night Raw a self-righteous, egotistical, miserable son of a bitch. So there clearly was no love lost on his part either. But what is your genuine view?
You don't think I don't know that's a work?
Of course, but my question was...
But that's a work.
Of course, but my question for you is...
This is what he does.
No, of course. It's a kind of Trump-style trash talk. But in terms of your perception of Vince McMahon, it's quite hard to work out from the documentary and from everything I've read and gleaned where the villain begins and ends and where the showman, who sort of blurs the line between fact and fiction, begins and ends. How bad a person, in your opinion, is Vince McMahon?
My empirical knowledge, my knowledge based on research, based on interviews, and interviews with really good people. I've met some wonderful people. Bruno Sammartino was one of the most noble people I've met because he told the truth. But based on what I know of Vince McMahon, he's the closest thing to the fictional character Hannibal Lecter I've ever met.
Wow. A serial killer.
He's that sick.
Really?
I think he's a sociopath. Yes, absolutely. What do you do when you make jokes on the air, as the future governor of Minnesota did, Jesse Ventura, about all the pedophiles that were being indulged, transported, and all the kids that would show up from city to city? They had no parental restraints. They were coming from foster homes. They were easy pickings. They were easy prey, and it happened on McMahon's watch, and it happened on everyone's watch. And you, Vince Russo, who used to be anti-McMahon, then you started kissing his ass because he got paid, and you're like everybody else.
You're not going to sit there and lie without me talking over you. You're
Who's
a liar.
Dr. Mauro Di Pasquale?
I was never pro-McMahon ever. I reported the truth and the facts. You did not go to the steroid symposium because you
right character.
Didn't want to hear his side of it. Did you go, Phil?
Did you ever? No, you're not letting.
Did you go? What? You had a lunch date, bro?
Here,
Why didn't you go, Phil?
Who's Dr. Mauro Di Pasquale? Who's Dr. Mauro Di Pasquale?
That was the person he had present at the steroid symposium. Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
And what was his specialty? What was his specialty?
I guess he was a con man, Phil. I guess he was an actor. He was an actor, Phil.
He was from Canada. His specialty was how to teach athletes to beat steroid tests.
So then why didn't you go to the symposium and say that? Why didn't you go to the symposium and say that, bro?
Because I was way ahead of you.
Okay, let me bring in. Okay, hang on, please. Hang on. Let me bring in Maven, who wants to say something, I think.